Good morning, Jordan Budd. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing fine, sir. How are you this morning?
You know, I asked when you wanted to do this. You gave me a time. We're here. But gosh, you're a morning person and I am not. So you've been up for a couple hours doing sit ups and crunchies and side bends and what else? Have you worked out already?
No, no, I have
Okay.
not. I usually do. I try to wake up early and get a workout in early because then it seems like, especially now, the days are so hot. It warms up, and then I don't want to do it, and then I don't do it, and then I get freaking round. So we don't want that to happen. So I just get up early, and but I haven't worked out today yet. So I'll throw a pack on later and brave the heat.
Well, for those who do not know, Jordan Budd is one of my heroes. She lives in Nebraska. She is on the Sig Sauer hunting team and works for Rockslide and has a media business. She's a videographer, knows more about gear than I'll ever learn, and is just an all around badass. So, would you tell me a little bit, Jordan, about your family ranch?
You bet. So we're in northwest Nebraska, a little town called Rushville. There's like, I think the population sign says 999 people. So not very many. And that's giving it a lot actually. So this is where I grew up, and just, we're just a Black Angus cow calf operation, just a commercial operation. And my grandpa bought the place in 39, I believe. And so my dad's been here all of his life, and I've been here pretty much all my life. Took a couple years and went to Wyoming to work for a TV show, doing the videography stuff. But I moved back here now, and we're doing the running water hunting operation that we got a couple neighbors leased, and then hunting on our own place, and then I've got the media business as well. So keeps me busy during the fall, but the ranch life is definitely my main. I would say, like, that's my all year round deal. The hunting and the media is in the fall, and it's all stacked up together. But I'm on the ranch 365, and I love it.
And it's still legit cowboy country over there. And you guys are heading and healing for Brandon's in the spring.
Yeah.
Your your horseback as it's needed. You have some row crops, but what is the terrain like generally? I think a lot of people don't really understand what Nebraska actually is.
Yeah, so Nebraska, just in general, is, I think a lot of people, they roll down I-80 on the interstate, and they're just like, it's all flat and corn and a lot of trees. But you get up in our direction, that northwest corner, we're in the sand hills. So a lot of it's like choppy but rolling grasslands type thing. So it's super open. I mean, there's like no trees really up in the sand hills. There's little pockets in the bottoms, but for the most part, it's just like really open and rolling. We're in a unique situation because we're on what they call the Niobrara River. And so when you drop down into the river, there's some pine trees. It might get kind of cliffy, and then there's like hardwood river bottoms. So it's like classic whitetail country in the river bottoms. You get up into the broken country with pine trees, and you run into, that's kind of more mule deer, where mule deer and some elk too like to hang out. And then you get out into the sand hills, and then also broken up, there's pivots, like irrigation, pivots of alfalfa or whatever. So it's really interesting. But mostly, people come here and they just think that it's going to be cornfields. But we have all kinds of, we got mule deer, whitetail, antelope. We're purebred Merriam's turkeys here, and that's just more than most people think that they're gonna run into out here.
You have the occasional coyote.
The occasional one, yeah, yeah, we do, we do, dude. I haven't been seeing very many of them this year. I don't know what's up with that.
Well, I mean, I could take a stab at it, and that maybe it has something to do with you and Jordan shooting all of them.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's a possibility. We were pretty hard on them this fall, but they needed it. There was a lot of them around.
I actually don't know if it's a possibility. Like, I don't know. I can't think of a place where coyotes have actually been shot out of an area.
Dude, I don't think so. No. And I know a guy that flies for Fish and Wildlife Services, and so they go up and they take care of coyotes strictly for ranching situations. Like the rancher will be having issues with coyotes. They'll call those guys up and then they'll go over with a super cub basically, and they'll help get rid of them. Well, dude, there was one where just around, I think within 2 square miles of this place where these people were calving, they there was like one day they shot like 35 coyotes just in that section there, but they always come back. I mean, you shoot those and then a week later there's more coyotes that move in. I think the next week they shot like half that. But good lord, that's a lot of coyotes in a small area.
Yeah. So when you're saying section, are you meaning 640 acres?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just meant like that. I guess within 2 square miles of just that area where they were shooting those. Yeah. Yeah, but a section is 640 acres.
Gotcha. So, and that is 1 square mile. So, 1,280 acres. That is a super small area to have, 35 plus another, 17 coyotes in it just in a 2 week time period. That's insane.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, it is. And I mean, a lot of that has to do with like where they were, you know what I mean? Like they were in
Oh,
prime
totally.
where they could, yeah. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that that's just, obviously that's not average for not spread out over a large area, but yeah, that was a crazy deal.
So in a lot of ways, you are an unlikely person to be in the position and profession that you are in. How did
Yeah.
that happen? Like what is the Jordan Budd origin story where this gal from northwestern Nebraska became one of the go-to resources on Western hunting at such a young age?
Actually, I was thinking about this the other day, and I just really don't know how. I was thinking about it the other day, and sitting in here, and I was going through gear, and yeah, I was like, how the hell did I get here? How did this happen? So, it basically all started with I wanted to film myself. Well, not really myself, but I just wanted to film. I wanted to get into that more. Cameras intrigued me, and I think not really the camera itself intrigued me as just capturing like what I was doing, the hunts and things like that. So I got a camera. My dad helped me out, bought me a camera, and I just started filming random stuff. And then I bumped up to a DSLR camera, and I got hooked up with a company. I think I just annoyed. Quite frankly, I just annoyed the hell out of them until they talked to me. But it was a website called selffilm.com, and the guy's name at the time was Forrest Breedlove, and he was a professional videographer for the hunts and whatnot. So got hooked up with them, and they had me write some articles. So that started me into the writing portion of it. And then I just been always been obsessed with gear, kind of, and being able to try stuff out. And I think I got a lot of this from my dad. He was always well, he still is a buy once, cry once type of guy. You know, if you're gonna have it, you if it needs to be the best, then you should just save up and you should get the best what you want. So I've got a little bit of my mindsets from him. So, anyways, wrote for Self Film for a while, and then rockslide.com had followed me filming and writing and things like that. And a little bit in the meantime, so I was writing for Self Filmed. I graduated high school, went to college. I was in college for a year, and then I went to Denver to a sports show, and I went to this booth, and the company's called Best of the West. And I was talking to this guy named Joe Cunningham, and he was like, "Hey," just BSing with him. We actually had some mutual friends and whatnot. So He asked me what I did, and I told him that, I'm in college now, but I kind of want to be a videographer, and give him my YouTube info and whatnot. So he had watched one of the videos, and he said, if we ever need somebody, we're going to call you. And of course, I'm like, yeah, well, I've heard that from a lot of people, and you never hear back from them. Well, that was in February, and they called me like in August, 2 weeks before they wanted me to go on the hunt. They called me. And so I'm scrambling to try to get things ready. And I have never, and it was a sheep hunt. Like the first hunt was going to be a sheep hunt. And so
Really?
there's this kid from Nebraska who's really not done any Western hunting. I'd done a little bit of backpacking because I wanted to get into it, but not much. So I go out on this sheep hunt and start working for Best of the West, and I'm on a contract basis at that time. And so about a year into that, the rockslide.com called me, and Ryan was like, hey, do you want to write some articles for us? We want to get a little bit more. We need another woman on the team to write about things, give a woman's perspective. So I hopped on and started doing that. And rockslide.com is purely, for the most part, pretty much gear oriented. They don't really do like hunting stories and things like that. It's all gear reviews or how to's. So I got hooked up with them, and then started writing for them. And then I got on full time with Best of West. I did that for 2 years. And then in 2018, I ended up moving back here to Nebraska, ramping up my own media business just for freelancing. And then actually, I think it was last year, started the Rockcast podcast with Rockslide, where we pretty much cover all the gear stuff. So, I mean, I kind of have my fingers in a little bit of a lot of things. There's a lot of irons in the fire. And I think that is one thing that helped me get to where I'm at now, is because I just did a lot of different things, and I never really told people no. You know what I mean? If there was an opportunity, I took it. And I think that's paid off. But short answer, I have no idea how I got here, James.
Well, you said it. You got there by seeking out opportunities and not saying no to them when they happened. A lot of people, if somebody called me right now and said, hey, can you, go fill any type of support role on a sheep hunt 2 weeks from now, all the blood would drain from my face and my hands would start shaking. And I'd say yes, but I would be really, really nervous about it. But I'm in the same boat as you, and I think that comes from our ranching background. Is that the model for business is that when you have an opportunity to do something, you do it, and if there's not an opportunity, then you create one, and that's just what you have to do to be able to make it work.
And I think what you just said there was key. If you don't have an opportunity, you make one. My dad told me once, he's like, it's kind of crazy. If things aren't working out, you just you make them work out. You just adjust things to where it's going to work out for you, whatever you want to do. So, I think that is key. And I've talked to, there's a few guys, people reach out to me and they want to be a videographer. They want to be in the industry and whatnot. And there's a couple of guys that I think they have the talent for what it would take to get there. And they've actually had the opportunity. There's this one kid that's from, like, I don't even know where he's from, up north somewhere. And there was a well-known TV show that asked him to go down and film. And he's like, well, I can't go because I have college. Well, dude, I had college too, and I just quit. Maybe I shouldn't tell everybody to just quit, but I took the fall off, and I went and filmed and made a little bit of cash, got some experience under my belt, and then I went back to school in the spring. So, you got to seize those opportunities, because the one thing too is, if I would have said no to Best of the West, they wouldn't have asked me ever again. They're just like, all right, well, she's out, so we're going to go on to the next person. Like, you can't do that.
And this is a small community. Hunting is is not that small of a community. It's about 1% of the population in the US, maybe a little bit more than that. But the hunting industry is small. So everybody basically knows everybody else, or at least talks to somebody who knows somebody. And if I talk to somebody and say, hey, you know anything about Jordan Budd? I was thinking about hiring her to film something. They say, yeah, I called her one time, but she was jammed up with school and said no. Like, oh, roger that. This is a
Yeah.
person who, says no. I I need the other kind of person. And then I don't call you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
then like there's been some times where I have been, really busy with other things and I've said no to filming opportunities, and not so much like the on the hunting side, but on, other sides where I was busy and I couldn't do it. Like I had other obligations and I couldn't do it for that week. And yeah, I mean, I I totally see, I'm not the first person that guy would call anymore. I'm like on down the list if the rest of the people can't do it. And so, um, I don't know. I think it gets to the point where you get so busy that you will start saying no to things. And I'm almost getting to that point, and it really sucks because you got to, pick your battles in a way. But when you're just starting out, you have to take opportunities. Like if there's a company that asks you, hey, will you write us an article for this? And you ask them, well, what am I going to get out of it? And they're like, well, just the experience. Like if you're just starting out, you have to do those things. Like you'd have to, it's baby steps, right? It's not like I just woke up one day and was like, hey, this is what I want to do. And then like, now I'm here. There's a lot behind the scenes. I mean, this started in 2011. I mean, and it's 2020 right now. And I feel like I'm just getting to where I'm scratching the surface into the industry. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I'm in much the same boat, and it feels really good to sort of, see the trees moving past you and realize that you have a little bit of momentum. But for me, that doesn't mean rest. That means throttle. Like give it everything I've got and see what I can gain from it now. Because when I look back at everything that it took to get to where I am right now, it is basically an unfathomable amount of work and time and failure and everything else. Things that if I had to look back and say, okay, now I have to do all that again to get back to where I am now, it it would be overwhelming. But one of the things that I like to do is if I feel like I'm not getting far enough or fast enough or achieving what I want to achieve, I just zoom out and look at where I was a year ago and 2 years ago. It's like, okay, I'm gaining ground. I'm doing it, but I'm doing it by absolutely working my tail off. I think I have 5 jobs right now, and I'm down one of them because I still can't guide fishing in Oregon.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy times for everybody, but you just have to work and do everything you possibly can until you hit that red line where you're like, okay, now's the point. I've reached my bandwidth. I I can't do more than what I'm doing now, and then you can start prioritizing and doing more of what you want to do. And I think that that's kind of where you and I are both at to a degree. And it's interesting that we're starting to get to work together on stuff, and that's super cool for me because I admire you so much as a human. I mean, it's cool that Rockslide wanted to get a woman's perspective, but I could care less. Like
Yeah.
you're just a go-to resource.
Dude, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I think it's important, and I mean you're doing it too, like staying true. Not that, well, there's people that aren't in it for the right reasons. And I know that's kind of blanketed and maybe that's, I guess, shallow of me to say, but I mean it's true. Like there's people that are getting into this that if social media didn't exist, they wouldn't be doing it. Well, dude, if social media didn't exist, like if we didn't have podcasts, we didn't have all this, I can't think of a single thing that I would be doing different right now. Literally, I don't. And I think that you're the same way.
Well, and I want people to realize something for the folks that are tuning into this and thinking that, this is the direction that they want to go as well. There's a major pitfall out there right now, and that is that a lot of people are just trying to get to a point where they can get stuff for free. But this is what I want you to realize. If you're getting something for free, anything, I don't care if that is a hat or a t-shirt or being able to use a social media platform like Instagram or Facebook, which are free. If you're getting something for free, you are the product. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for you to get that item. So think about that, and then think about your own value. And if you've estimated that your value is the same as a baseball cap, then that's fine for you to get a free baseball cap. But that's basically how somebody else is estimating your worth if that's what they give you.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Like, somebody gets paid. I think Snyder says that all the time, but somebody's got to get paid in it. You know what I mean? Like, if they're giving you a product, or I mean, if they're even giving you a discount on the product, I mean, they're giving that to you because they see that you're somebody that, people are going to look at, and they want you to be using their product. But I think also using that product for the right reasons, like because you like it too, just from a straight up product standpoint. And I think, just because somebody gives you something, it doesn't mean you have to jam it down people's throats. I mean, if you use it in a genuine way and you put content across organically of just you using it, then I think that's going to be a plus, and that'll separate you from other people too, I think.
Yeah. And it's the rarest individual who gets to experience the full spectrum of any type of gear item. So if I'm saying that, this arrow knock is the best knock out there, and that's the one that I'm using, and it's also a company that I'm working with, I better have shot every single arrow knock available. I have to have shot them all and compared them and, analyze them from a scientific standpoint to know that in this situation, this is the best possible one out there. If you just say it's the best gear out there and you haven't used everything else, and it's a company that you're working with, then you've just sold your credibility and you can never get it back. I tell people that their credibility is the most valuable thing that they have, and they only get to sell it once. So if you sell it, get a good price for it. But my goodness, just hold on to your credibility, if nothing else.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I mean, how are the goats doing? We got to talk about the goats. You knew I was going to ask about the goats.
Oh, the goats. Dude, every time I do a questionnaire on Instagram, James is always like, "Hey, when are you going to start their own Instagram page?" I'm like, never. The goats are never
You don't even respond to it.
I know. I need to. Is this a PG-13 podcast where we can say what you want the page to be named?
No, it's not.
It is great though. It is great. Oh man, it is good. But anyways, no, the goats, they're still alive, I guess, and that's
an accomplishment.
That's a lot. It's an accomplishment, and we're getting to the point they need banded. Apparently, with goats, you're supposed to wait like 4 months before you castrate them. We're gonna band them to do that job. And so that worries me a little bit on that stress, but I haven't been around banding that much, but it seems like it would be less stressful than just cutting like we usually do calves.
Yeah, I don't know the first thing about castrating goats.
Neither do I, but I know my dad's like, hey, maybe you should just cut them, just like a regular calf, just cut them, because the banding is kind of, it's like a tourniquet basically. cuts blood flow off, and then their sac just eventually falls off. And he's like, that's kind of, I don't know. And, but those little things, dude, if they get their head stuck in the fence and you go to get them out, they start like crying and bawling. And I'm like, I'm not cutting that thing.
Yeah. Well, there's probably going to be a little bit of crying when you apply a tight rubber band to everything that those
Yeah.
little goats' futures depend on. But we used to band our steers when they were, a year old or close to it with this great big bull bander. And it was one of the scarier things that ever happened on the ranch because, a horned, 600 or 800 pound Coriani bull, he wants to hashtag resist having a big tight piece of rubber wrapped around his nuts. Yeah, and there was a lot of kicking that went on, and a lot of those kicks ended up landing on me for some reason. So hopefully you don't get hoofed in the face by a goat while you're trying to band the poor little guys.
Hoof kicked. Yeah, not good. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. We might have to have a group of people to help us, but we'll get it done.
How many goats are we dealing with these days?
Six, dude. We've got six. We took five on the latest old backpacking trip, and then we got back, and we have like a local website you get on, like a swap shop. So I was looking at that, and that's never a good idea because I always end up with something. And there was some lady that was selling like an Oberhassie goat, and all of ours are Alpines, or the other five, anyways, are Alpines. But those are kind of the two that people seem to use for pack goats, is Alpines and Oberhassies, and they're actually starting to crossbreed them, and they say that that's a pretty good mix right there. But anyway, so I saw she had this goat for sale, and I'm like, God dang it. We don't need one, but it's close. So yeah, went and picked it up, and now we have six.
Are they all billies?
Yeah, yep, they are, and they've all still got their horns. I guess their horns aid in keeping them cool. I guess that's just a
Sure.
thing I heard once. And then I also heard that keeping them all billies was a good way to go, or bucks or whatever they are. That was a good way to go because if you start mixing them with females, it's not the greatest. I guess dude, I don't know the first thing about goats.
You know more about it than I do. So that the
Barely.
concept that we're working on here is that these are pack animals, so they'll eventually be able to carry around 40 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, so a goat can carry like I think it's 40% of their body weight. Dang, it's been a while since I looked at this, but hopefully they're going to get to 200 pounds. That's the goal. That's kind of the minimum goal is 200. You want them like 200 to 220, 225. There are bigger ones out there, but that's going to be our goal. So I mean, there's some bigger goats that you can pack. I mean, 60, 70 pounds. Not for like a long distance, but I mean, you could do it.
Yeah. So, if you've got half a dozen goats carrying 60 pounds, you can have a pretty nice camp.
Yeah, you can. One thing, so I hunted with Ryan Avery's goats last year, and we were on an elk hunt, and we were packing stuff up, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna bring extra batteries. I'm gonna bring like a little bit of extra comfort. And as I was putting everything on the goats, Ryan was just like, if we shoot a bull though, you got to carry all that stuff back out. And I'm like, oh yeah, you do. That's true. So my pack was a little heavy coming out, but that's all right. It was really nice being able for them to pack it out, get all out in one trip, and not have to go back up.
People glorify pack outs so much, and
Oh boy, yeah.
it's fascinating to me, and I get it, right? Like that means that you punched a tag, you're successful on a hunt. But I've done so many hard pack outs that is just not a part of the hunt that I'm like, woohoo, I'm packing, 80 pounds 4 times or whatever. So yeah, if you can put some of that weight on these little critters that can eat basically anything and don't even need as much water as you do, like that's great. Go for it.
Yeah, yeah, save on the knees a little bit. And it is, dude, it is fun. Like having them things around, they're just another source of entertainment. You have to think about some extra things just as you do with any kind of a stock animal, you know. You got to make sure that, and goats, this is where it's going to get a little bit goofy is goats need to go with you. Like they are, you know, mountain lion snacks, and just the predation on them is crazy. So we have like a highline that will string up at camp, but you can't really leave them, so they've got to go with you. Well, when we went on this last backpacking trip, they just follow you around, and then when you stop to glass, they might kind of be annoying at first, but then they just go lay down. And I guess if you take a squirt bottle, you can like squirt them in the face, and it'll. They don't like water, so well for the most part they don't like water, so they'll go and they'll kind of they're really quick learners, I think, and they'll learn their boundaries of where they can be and where they can't be. But we tried the squirt bottle thing on these little babies, and good lord, they one of them, I squirted him in the face, and he just walked up to it and put his mouth around the thing because he wanted some water. So I was squirting water in his mouth.
And of course, you're like, okay, have a drink.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, this squirt bottle stuff doesn't work when they're babies, and I've heard that from a few other people too. They're like, hey, do your goats like the squirt bottles? Because they don't literally do anything with mine. I just squirt them and they look at me and they keep doing whatever it is that they're doing. And I'm like, yeah, it's thus far it has not worked for us. But I guess when they get older, they respond to it pretty good.
Yeah, you might have to up your game to some kind of a super soaker.
Yeah, something like that. The problem is you got to carry that stuff. You got to carry it back with you. Well, the goats do now, I guess. But dude, that's another thing with goats is they can't really pack much of really anything until they're like 3-4 years old.
Yeah.
So it's a commitment. When they're a year old, you can pack some like bulky stuff on them. So that's where we can throw, like we could even throw our sleeping bags on them, maybe get rid of a little bulk from our packs. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting seeing how this goes.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to, following the progression of your goats on their very own Instagram page, which I look forward to you starting, as I've mentioned about 17 times previously. Okay. One of the things that I really wanted to talk about with you, because you do have such a breadth of experience with gear and with backcountry hunting and filming. Guys, when these folks are filming hunts, they're carrying a lot of extra weight. So those batteries, those cameras, those lenses, those take up a lot of space and weight. And realistically, I would compare it to like bringing an extra 2 or 3 guns with you on a hunt. Like that would be an insane thing to have all strapped to your pack or inside your pack. But that's what these videographers are going through to be able to film these hunts. And if it's a sure enough backcountry hunt, those pounds come at a premium. So being judicious about what you actually carry is a big part of the game, but you have to have the right stuff to keep you in the game for whatever period of time is required of you. So what I wanted to talk about is the things, Jordan, that you and I have carried in our packs, over the course of our hunting history that we no longer carry. We spend a lot of time talking about the gear that we need, but we don't probably spend enough time talking about the gear that we don't need at all.
Dude, yeah. I think that when people are first starting out, I think they bring too much clothing. I think they bring too much food. And I think even like on the first aid side of things, and this can be a little bit goofy, but just bring in too much stuff. Like you probably don't need an entire roll of athletic tape. You could shave that down a little bit. I'm trying to think of some like big things I've taken out of my pack. Food wise, dude, I used to I used to take MREs, like the full ones, like not open the package and get out what you want. Like I used to take whole ones. So I would have that and then Mountain House. Well, good lord. I mean, I just didn't know anything when I was doing. I just threw a bunch of stuff in. Um, so I had that, and then the clothing thing. I've always been pretty good with clothing. I haven't brought a whole bunch of stuff, but I've been on hunts where, back high country hunts where we're backpacking in that guys have like busted out like a tree stand jacket, like an all in one tree stand jacket instead of, packing in like a layering system. Um, so dang, maybe you should go first and then I'll be able to think about more stuff.
For me, it's mostly the stuff that I brought extras of that I no longer do, and I find that in all kinds of packing, like where I used to have to bring, a duffel bag that I could, fit like a full set of hockey gear and three dead bodies in. Now I'm like, no, it's like a backpack, but I don't bring extras of very many things. I bring an extra set of batteries for a headlamp, and I have two sources of light. I have two knives. Um, but as far as stuff that I have redundancies of, it's like I've got two pairs of socks, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't bring extra pants anymore. I don't bring an extra shirt. I bring one shirt that I'm wearing, and then the additional layers that I think that I may need given the weather situations that I've predicted that I'm going to encounter. I see people do a lot of crazy stuff to cut weight out of their packs. I've seen people punch holes in their straps and, you know, cut their toothbrush handles off and do lots of stuff to shave fractions of ounces. And then, they bring an extra tarp, or they bring a tent that has its own poles, like a pup tent thing that, has
Yeah.
extra poundage just built into the thing. It's like, that's a place to save space.
Oh yeah, dude. So, I would definitely say like a headlamp. I used to carry two headlamps, like two big headlamps. Now I have something they call a Petzl E-light, and it's a tiny little thing, and you wouldn't want to rely on that thing for backcountry hunt. But if your other headlamp went down, I mean, it would work. And then it's good for just little camp stuff too. I keep it in my bino harness, so it's always with me. So I'll do that, and then like a regular headlamp and an extra set of batteries. And sometimes if it's even like a 3 or like a shorter trip, I won't take an extra set of batteries. But if it's a really serious hunt and then it's more than 5 days, I'll take an extra set of batteries. I like these black diamond headlamps. I think a bunch of them do it now, but the ones that I use, they lock. So I just make sure that it's locked all the time, and then that's helped them a ton from turning on. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think clothing and the extra set of pants and stuff. Yeah, that just yeah, you're just gonna be grimy and probably a little smelly by the time you get out of there.
I need to look into that locking feature, because the reason that I'm packing extra batteries is so many times I've gotten into the top pouch of my pack to pull my headlamp out, and I'm like, uh-oh, it's on barely, because it's been on for the last, 27 hours. And it's like, oh, what have I done? It's just barely glowing. It's like, yeah, if I don't have new batteries, then I'm working in the dark. So I like to carry an extra headlamp inside of a bag that has my game bags, my extra knife, a little bit of flagging, a couple of those reflective tacks, so that I can come back and find my way into where the game bags are on that second trip in. Things like that. So just kind of keep my extra stuff in a little kill kit, if you will.
Oh yeah, dude, I like separating all my stuff out into little kits because then, I think we're in a unique situation where we do a lot of these back to back hunts. So there's times where I'll be home for, 2 days and I'm rolling again. So keeping everything in the little kit, it's easy. So you can take that kit out and you could be like, okay, what's missing from it? Or what do I need to add to it or take away from it? And then you can just throw it in your pack or throw it in, yeah, your bag or whatever. You can just throw it in and then take off. And one other thing I was thinking about was I used to carry like a big fixed blade knife, and now I've gotten away from that. What are you using for knives now?
I'm I'm honestly all over the place on knives. So uh, I'm generally opposed to throwaway blade knives, but when I'm skinning coyotes and skinning the things that I'm trapping in the wintertime, I do use a Havlon knife for that. I really like it. Typically my hands are cold. I'm working outside. I'm using, a set of trapping gloves that are like have rubberized palms and stuff like that, because a lot of these animals are kind of greasy on the fat once you get them start getting turned inside out. So having a really 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 sharp knife every time, and a consistently sharp knife, like the same sharpness, helps me be a little bit safer with it. I do like a full handled knife when I'm hunting, especially if there's a possibility that I'm going to be breaking an animal down. And a lot of times I will actually carry like a sure enough boning knife, with I like a 6-inch flex boning knife with a plastic handle. So you can get them from Forstner or Victorinox or, oh gosh, what's the fishing company one that makes a lot of fillet knives?
Not sure on
I'm
that
trying
one.
to remember. But anyways, they're fairly inexpensive knives, and they're what you're going to see in butcher shops for the most part. And you can get them typically for around $20, and they don't actually weigh that much more than anything else. Um, and if you do have to break an animal down, because I've done so much butchering in my life, that's just what I'm used to. So using a little knife to actually butcher when I'm used to going fast and hard at it, and just trying to cut as much meat as possible as quickly and cleanly as possible, I like to have that knife. But if if it's just a backcountry hunt and I'm going to carry two knives, then one of them is going to be something like the Argali carbon knife. That's one I've been using the most of lately. I used the Benchmade altitude knife quite a bit last year, and that worked fine too. But I like something like that, something that's got a 3 or 4 inch blade, a handle that's going to go across all four fingers, and something that I can actually put some pressure on and be able to resharpen while I'm in the field. So I'll bring a little ceramic rod, or like the little work sharpeners that have like three sides. They'll have like a leather stropping side and a diamond side and a ceramic side. I'll just pop the diamond plate off, and then throw that in my pack, and I can sharpen anything with that, whether it's a hatchet or a knife. I actually used to use just a hatchet, and I would gut skin a quarter with a hatchet, and it was extremely sharp, and I can go through an animal really really quickly with a good hatchet.
Dude, interesting. I'm pretty close to the same way on the knife. I use that Argali carbon also. There's just so many companies that are starting to make a little fixed blade knife like that that's super light and just easy to throw in any pocket, that it's like it's really nice to be able to go to that. And I still carry like the Taito or like the Havalon type knives with the replaceable blades. I like those ones, but those two I carry with me all the time. And I used to carry, this was back in the old early days of not knowing much. I used to carry a like a little foldable saw, and I've ditched that thing since. And it just I know people like to bring that because, especially if you're used to doing whitetail stuff all the time, you take a saw because you're gutting things all the time, so you can cut the sternum open and like the pelvis and whatnot. But back there, we're doing pretty much all gutless, so you just debone, and you just do the gutless method on everything. So you don't really need to cut through any bone. You just where the joints are, and you know how to work those, so you don't have to like pry on them too much, and just seems like it works better.
Yeah, for sure. And if you do a little bit of research and a little bit of practice, you can totally split a pelvis or a sternum with a knife without damaging your knife. it there's a sweet spot, and you've got to learn it. And if you like swing into a butcher shop or something like that, they may be able to show you if they've got a carcass back there. And every butcher that I know, they would be stoked to take you to the back room and show you some tricks of their trade. And that can save you a lot of time. But yeah, my granddad could pop an elk pelvis with a butter knife. There's just a spot where you can do it, and then you give it a little shove on each side, and she pops right in half.
Oh, nice, dude, nice. We've just always taken the easy way.
Yeah, a saw is not necessary. If I'm going to carry a saw, I carry a folding silky saw, and it's called like the Big Boy XL or something like that. And I think it's folded. It's like 18 inches long, so that's about the length of the blade as well. And with an 18-inch blade, you can cut a tree that is twice that diameter. It's not going to be any fun if you have to cut, a 30-inch tree, but you can absolutely do it with that saw. And, you know, we have a lot of wilderness areas, and you can't carry a chainsaw. And where we used to carry a crosscut saw, which, is nicknamed the Misery Whip, and aptly named it that. I even had to fight fire with that stupid thing a few times back in the day when firefighting was my job. But man, with these folding silky saws, I can cut through wood way faster than I ever could with a Misery Whip. So if you're trying to get out of somewhere, and you get a tree down across a trail, you can definitely get it done with that saw. But that's more of a livestock thing, anyways. So
Gotcha.
the saw that I carry around in a side by side or whatever is going to be that silky saw. And then if I'm going to be on a cold weather hunt where firewood is a big part of the equation, and I've got extra weight just in survival, and carrying all the layers that are needed for a cold weather backcountry hunt, then that folding saw is going to be part of the game, just so that you can get big pieces of firewood that are actually going to keep you warm all night.
Yeah, have you been around those Wyoming saws? I've got a couple of those that pack up pretty nice.
Yeah, I have. And I definitely had one of those as a kid. And, for the folks that don't know, they break down into four or five pieces.
Hmm.
And it's just like a little bow saw. And they typically come with a blade for bone and a blade for wood. And they'll roll up nice and small. That's definitely a good tool for people that are into that.
Dude, for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I brought with me. Um, maybe too much fuel too. I mean, I
Yeah.
I understand that fear of wanting to bring, even for a 5-day hunt, bringing like 3 cans of fuel for your stove. But I think 4 days you can get by with one. So just I usually bring a couple for a 5-day hunt, and I have yet to run out on a hunt, but I've been close.
One thing you can do is bring a Sharpie with you, and every time you use that fuel bottle, which typically you're using to heat a quantity of water that is consistent, right? And whether you're making a cup of coffee or cooking water to reconstitute some freeze dried food, it's about the same thing, as far as the amount of water that you're using. So just take your Sharpie and make a little mark on the bottom of your fuel can, and then when it completely runs out, you'll know how many burns you can actually get out of a can, at that altitude, and then you've got a baseline to operate off of in the future.
Oh, nice, nice. There's some of those like the MSR ones. They have a deal where you like if you can put it in water or stream or something, it'll float up, and wherever they have like lines on the side, and then whatever line you're on that it's like is touching the top of the water, it's a gauge, and then they give you, if it's half full, you can get like, I don't know, 8 more boils out of it or whatever. You should not quote me on that because I'm not sure. I'm just making stuff up. But they do have like a little gauge on the side that you can use. It's kind of nice.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea. that makes sense, of course. It's
Yeah.
smart idea for MSR or whoever did that. The other thing to keep in mind about backcountry cooking is if you have a little, titanium coffee cup or a little titanium pot, you can totally throw that on top of a fire and cook with it. Uh, Now, I really recommend that people are just boiling water in that case, and that they're not using direct flame, because titanium will warp, and your expensive lightweight pot will never be the same again. But running out of fuel is not the end of the world. Like, you can still cook without fuel because you can burn firewood.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
have like a jet boil, that option's not really available to you.
No, I melted a whole bunch of snow in that MSR reactor, and that thing did really well last year.
Nice. What is the reactor? I don't know about that one.
Um, I don't even really know how to explain it. It's just it just uh, dang it, what is it? A canister stove. It's just a canister stove. You screw it onto the little canister, and then it has like a, you can get different size pots for it, but the one I have is just a 1 liter, and the way that the pot fits to the burner is, it does so well in wind. It does super super well in wind, and it just seems to be like a bomb proof little thing. I've only had mine a year, but other dudes that I've talked to that have run it for a long time, they're like, that's a like a doomsday one. Like, if you're gonna, if you can only have one, that might be the one to take, and it's the same weight as a like a jet boil flash.
A lot of the through hikers are using just alcohol stoves and making their own little stoves out of pop cans and stuff like that. And that, if you're really interested in saving weight, then learn how to do that. And typically they'll use heat, like the fuel treatment, HEET, and I think it's the yellow bottle. You can get them for like $1.29 at your gas station. And basically they'll pour in a tablespoon of fuel, or whichever small amount of fuel they need, and then they hold a lighter up to the bottom of it to get it hot, and then fumes start coming out through the little jet holes in the top that they've created. You light those jet holes, and that will boil as fast as anything, and you're only ever using the amount of fuel that you need. So people that are really weight obsessed, I see going to something like that more often than not.
Yeah, I don't think that life is for me, man.
It's not for me, no. But I'm the type of physique that carries weight. Um, so yeah, I can be afforded some luxuries just because I'm a big guy.
Hmm.
I'm not going to be the first one to the top of the mountain by any means. But if you need me to carry 180 pounds, like I'm the guy for that. So I can carry a big jet boil and a couple extra cans and be okay with it.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Are there any optics that you don't carry anymore?
Hmm. Dude, this one's ever evolving, I guess. I was a tens and a 15s person for a long time. Still am. But I've started to go more towards the route of like 12s. I got those 12s from SIG. They're the Zulu 7 12 powers. For 12s, they're light and they're small, and they're nice. But I wanted to go up in glass a little bit, so I went to the Zulu 9s, and those are the 11s. And I just got them like a week ago, so I haven't had them very long, but I've thrown them on a tripod and glassed around a bit. I would say maybe that's even one thing I've changed, is making sure that I always have my binoculars on a tripod, at least most of the time. There's always times you sit down and then you do a quick scan and then go to a spotting scope or something like that. But being able to steady binoculars up, even 8 powers on a tripod's a pretty big deal. But I think this year I'm going to use a SIG, the Zulu 9 11 powers, and then I'll take a spotting scope with me. I don't think I could ever leave a spotting scope home unless I was going to be like just archery elk hunting in a timbered area.
Yeah, a spotting scope is increasingly something that I'm not taking with me.
Ooh.
and that's an evolution for for me to an extent because I'm not as score obsessed as I used to be. So I can determine, roughly what an animal is with binoculars pretty well, well enough to make me happy. So the times that I'm actually carrying a spotting scope really are when I'm, working for a client who is really interested in a score, and I need to know exactly, what that bull is before we move in on him.
Yeah. Yeah, gotcha. I'm kind of the same way. And you can pick stuff, but a lot of the stuff I'm doing too is mule deer for my personal self. So you can pick deer out laying down, by their ear flicker or whatnot. I've caught their like the outline of their frame just in the shade. Back in the trees, just been able to pick that out with a spotter. So I don't know. I um I haven't left it home yet. I don't know if I can.
Yeah. No, there's a very real application for it. The optic I'm the most excited about right now is the Zulu 6 stabilized binocular, and I don't think you've got to see those yet, but you will when we go goat hunting together here in a month and a half or so. But they're honestly steadier than a tripod, and people have a hard time when I say that. But with a tripod, you get a lot of vibration. When you shift the optic, or if there's wind or something like that, there's some vibration. And with these stabilized binoculars, it never vibrates. So you always have a still image, and you can
Dude, yeah,
really pick out
oh, go ahead.
those little nuances of movement. Um, so the thing that I will say about tripods and spotting scopes and tripods and binos is now all the tripods that I use are sturdy enough and have an Arca rail type head so that I can also shoot a rifle off of them. So if I'm going to be carrying a tripod for an optic, it's going to be a tripod that I can shoot the gun off of.
Gotcha. I haven't quite got to that point yet of making.
I'm going to get you there.
Yeah, yeah, I bet you are.
So we have a mountain goat hunt coming up like tomorrow. Not actually tomorrow, but it feels like tomorrow.
Yeah, it's close, man. It's close, but in between that, I'm super excited for it. But in between that, I've got a few hunts. One of them is the bighorn sheep hunt, the governor's tag bighorn sheep hunt for Idaho, and that's going to be
Oh, cool.
interesting. Yeah. So I just talked to the guide the other day, like a week ago, and he said the previous week they backpacked in and were scouting, and it is going to be a backpack hunt. I kind of figured that horses would be involved, but they're not. So I'm going to have to carry everything. And they went 10 miles in, and the total trip was like 21 miles round trip. And he said he carried water for 7 miles. So I might die.
Yeah, that's super rugged. Super rugged. So when is that hunt? So that start in August?
Yeah, I think the last day of August. So basically that first week of September, I think.
Okay. And then are you doing any archery hunting in September?
Um, so basically what I've got on the docket this year, it's super busy. I didn't really draw any tags myself. I drew an antelope tag here in Nebraska. But most of my stuff's gonna be filming. Well, it's pretty much all gonna be filming, I guess. But I leave, so I'm gonna be down in Utah for the August 15th archery elk opener, which should be super interesting. Doing that, coming back here, guiding an antelope hunter, and then going on that Idaho trip, and then going back down to Utah for elk if we don't kill that first week of August, or that first week of season, I guess, and then going to Wyoming for a deer hunt, and then I go with you. So it's gonna be interesting.
So let's talk about we're going mountain goat hunting on Kodiak Island, unless the Rona stops us, in which case I'm going to be inconsolable. But let's talk about what it looks like to prepare from a gear perspective for an Alaskan mountain goat hunt.
So for me, a lot of it has to do with the rain. Just having it being wet all the time. Like where I typically go, we're in the high country. I don't carry really heavyweight rain gear with me for the most part. And a lot of times I might not even have rain pants with me, depending on what the weather's going to look like. But Kodiak, I mean, not only if it's not raining, if you're going through all that brush and whatnot, there's a good chance that that brush is going to be wet too, especially in the mornings. So you need to have good rain gear for that. So that's probably one of the biggest things. And then with the cameras too, is dealing with the rain. So I got a couple new rain covers that I think are gonna work well. So I think I have a system down that it's gonna work well. But that was one of the bigger things for me was making sure my rain gear was dialed.
Yeah, I've been on a bunch of hunts where there was precip and it was being filmed, and guys are just cutting a hole in a trash bag for their lens and then crawling inside of that trash bag with their camera, and it's so loud and visible and obnoxious. It just drives me crazy. So what are you doing to keep your cameras dry back there?
So I'm gonna have a dry bag that I'm just gonna be
Don't do
able to
trash
put.
bag.
Don't do a trash right now. I'm not gonna do it. So I'm gonna have a dry bag with me that I can just put the camera in, and if I need to, like if it's bad enough or it's downtime or whatever where we're not really deep in the filming, so I can put it in there and just have it be waterproof and just be able to set it anywhere, but have it be waterproof, or away from the water anyways. So that's what I'm gonna do there, and then I also have a company called Peak Design makes a rain cover that fits like for a specific camera. So I got a couple of those that should be okay. I mean, if it's raining and I'm using it, it'll be okay. But what I'm worried about more than anything is like setting the camera somewhere where it's just going to get saturated. So that's what the dry bag is for. So I mean, I'm crossing my fingers that that's going to be all right. One thing Cole told me, he's like, you have to make sure you have a rain cover for your camera because it might not be good otherwise.
So I'm thinking about bringing an umbrella.
Oh my god,
I've
really?
I've thought about this before, and how a spotting scope has the screw attachment on the bottom for mounting a plate onto it or
Yeah.
whatever. I've always thought that a spotting scope should have another one on top that you could like screw a little spotting scope umbrella onto, so that you could have a little place to keep your optic and your little eyeballs out of the rain when you're glassing. And I know a lot of people are like, well, if it's raining that hard, you can't see very far. Yes, true. That's a point. However, this is a freaking mountain goat hunt. So I'm going to be glassing. I'm going to be hunting. And if I can only see through little sucker holes in the rain, I need to be looking through those all the time. So I haven't completely figured out how I'm going to keep my scope waterproof. You and I have a meeting later on today where we're going to go over a lot of this stuff, but I'm definitely looking into some options for, how to keep my optical system good to go. But yeah, I definitely caught myself the other night looking up lightweight umbrellas, and it's one of
Dude,
those things. Like I was on a for realsies backcountry hunt quite a while ago, and it was the first time I'd ever seen one of those Helinox chairs, and somebody
oh yeah.
pulled this chair out back at the trailhead, and I was like, "You're packing a chair? Are you high?" And after a few days in the backcountry, we were ready to like fight each other for a little bit of time in the chair because we're just glassing like crazy. There's cactus everywhere, and it just wasn't any fun to sit on the ground. So I think that there's a time when a luxury item like that is like the item to bring.
Dude, yeah. James is gonna be looking like he's at the beach with his umbrella sitting in his chair. Dude, it's gonna be epic. I can't wait. Oh man, that's gonna be
Bring
good.
some little umbrellas to put in my coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, no, but that's gonna be a dang fun hunt. I was actually on Kodiak a few years ago, filming a girl, and we did kind of the same thing that we're gonna do this year on this trip, I think. Anyways, And it was good. It was just you're in rain pants all the time, which kind of sucks. And actually, this brings up a good point. I had a friend that he used this in Alaska, like it up in not on Kodiak, but the actual um, the main island. Is that what you'd call that? The mainland, Alaska mainland.
Okay.
And
Yeah, it's
he so
not really an island, but sure. Yeah, I'll go with
yeah,
it.
yeah, I'm an idiot. Sometimes. So, anyways, he had instead of wearing pants, like instead of wearing his regular pants underneath of his rain pants, he would just wear like his, I mean, long johns essentially, and then put his rain pants over the top of that because it was always raining. And then he could just unzip the sides and vent if it wasn't raining or if they were walking around or whatever. So, I don't know. That might be worth a shot. We'll see how wet it is.
Okay. Yeah, be interesting. I'm super excited. I've never got to hunt in Alaska before. I've been up there working on some fishing trips, and I've got to fish for fun once, and I love it. It exceeds expectations in every way. So it's a pretty neat place.
Yeah, it's going to be a great trip. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Um, Anything else you want to talk about?
Um, I can't really think of anything right now. No, we covered a lot.
We did cover a lot. That was fun. Okay, let's conclude with a couple minutes of advice to a young lady hunter by Jordan Budd.
Oh man. Ooh.
So a young gal is looking at just getting into hunting, not hunting industry, not taking pictures of their butts or anything like that. They just want to get into hunting, and nobody in their family's done it. They think Katniss Everdeen's a badass or whatever. Like, how do they get started? What do they do?
Man. It's gonna be. It's such a simple little answer I'm gonna have, but I know it's super complicated. Is just go, just commit. Like, don't think about it for a long time because you think and plan and you wish that you really want to go do something but you don't ever really do it. So there's that one. And then, I mean, reach out, because I know I've always been pretty good at just going out and doing things by myself and just I'm gonna go do it. So see you later. I'll see you when I get home. But I know that everybody's not like that. So finding a good mentor in your area would probably be a good one. And I couldn't even really tell you how to do that besides go into like a bow shop and just talk to somebody and ask if you can tag along with them sometime or if they can point you in the right direction. I know there's not public land everywhere, but if you don't have a place to go, I mean, trying to find the closest public land spot to you, go do that. Pick up a tag. Try to make it close to home because that's a little bit of a comfort thing too. Being close to home, you don't have to drive as far. You could hunt it more too. That's another good thing. And then just go have fun and experience the hunt for what it is and try to get an animal on the ground. Like, the don't be too worried about how big the thing is. Just go get the experience of what it's like to do that. And yeah, my biggest advice is just do it now because you're not gonna get any younger. And just go do it.
I think that's great advice. And then the only thing that I'll add to that is if you are in a place that doesn't have good access to public land, that means that there's going to be some private land around. And private land, a lot of it is going to be producing some type of agricultural crop. And whether that crop is wheat or alfalfa or some type of row crop, or or if it's livestock, there's going to be an association of ag producers who are in that area, and they probably meet once a month. Go to that meeting and introduce yourself to those people and see what it is that they need that you can contribute, and that will turn into access to those private properties to go hunting. So if that's the only option that's available to you, which I fully understand, then go talk to the people that own the land and try and help them out and see what they need, and become friends with them. And the next thing you know, you're going to have a place to hunt that's all yourself.
Dude, absolutely. Develop those relationships. Relationships are extremely, extremely important. Doesn't matter what industry you're in or just a daily, a day to day thing. Relationships are important, and gaining trust and friendship and being a good person is all part of that, I think.
Yep. And be true to yourself, be true to everybody else. Don't sell your credibility. And yeah. Jordan, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day on this early morning and talking with me and sharing your knowledge and information with everybody. And I'm not being facetious at all when I say that, you're one of my heroes. Like, you're just absolutely crushing it in every way. And I look up to you, and it's a great honor for me to be able to talk with you and to be able to work with you. And I'm so looking forward to being able to go hunting with you.
Man, well, I really, really appreciate it. And you've always given me a ton of support, and you've been a great friend. And I can't wait to get on the mountain with you.
It's going to be awesome. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, man.
All right. See ya. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show. This episode was edited by Emily Brannigan, with original music written and performed by Justin Hay. Artwork for the Six Ranch podcast was created by John Chatterlin and digitized by Celia Christofferson. If you enjoyed the show, I encourage you to share it with a friend and subscribe. You can find photos and more content on Instagram at Six Ranch Podcast. I'll catch you next week.